Don't bury the lead.
We have to talk about Luka Doncic and the trade that shook the world. If you go to the Only Sports Podcast YouTube channel, we have a video up there that I did Sunday night in place of the usual in place of the usual Sunday solo show. And yeah, named that video what I think it is. I said it is the most shocking trade in maybe, but most certainly sports
Def
history.
Definitely American sports history, no doubt, 100%. I'm sure there's some soccer trades, like world soccer trades that have happened that have been, insane as well that I'm just not privy to on a regular basis. But this by far, wow. I just can't believe it. Like it shook the world. Every single person coming into my bar was talking about it. Every single person.
Yeah,
Like
and
you just hear them as you're walking around. Everybody's like, "Did you hear about the trade? Did you hear about the trade? Did you hear about the trade?"
well, also, and this has been reiterated in the video I posted Sunday, so go watch that. But the thing that needs to be reiterated is the trade deadline was not Saturday night at midnight. So this trade it came out of the blue. It was for pennies on the dollar. I would even say basically free, right? Because you're
Pretty
trading
much.
an all pro who is a little bit past his prime for a guy who is 25 years old, hasn't even entered his prime, and is already taking his team to an NBA finals. I said in the video 10 months ago, it was shorter than that. It was like 6, 7 months ago.
Yeah.
So I don't think the return on investment for the Mavericks will, again, I keep hearing the same argument, which is, oh, well, this puts the Mavericks in a win now situation because now they have Kyrie Irving, now they have Anthony Davis. They were just in the finals. They are currently in a win now situation. What this does is shorten the win now window for the next decade, the next 15 years to the next 3, right? Like this
Right.
is uh and then the other news was the De'Aaron Fox trade that he
And
went
that's
from.
that's what I wanted to bring up is th that trade, they got way more for Fox than, um, what they got for Luka. Um,
Yeah.
I'm sure you have that pulled up. Go for it.
No, he just got traded to the Spurs, which
Mhm.
was again a thing that was not shocking in the least because up until, going into the trade deadline, he was talking about how he wanted to play for the Spurs, obviously wanted to play for Popovich, wanted to play with Wemby. So that was a trade that was supposed to be the big marquee trade matchup of this, trade deadline. And then obviously the Luca thing, I said it in the video, but I was literally at work and our work is going through renovation. So we don't have cable TV. We just watch apps. So I was actually watching the Falcons Patriots Super Bowl because if you go, because obviously we have YouTube now. So you go on YouTube, they have a bunch of Super Bowl full games. So I was just watching that game. And then I go to leave work at midnight and I going through my phone as I'm standing at the urinal casino. This is how I found out. And I'm just scrolling Twitter and I see that from Shams and I'm like, what? I was like, and I immediately thought what everybody thought was like, he's been hacked or this is a joke or all that kind of stuff. Because still, I mean, we're recording this on Tuesday. This broke Saturday. It still doesn't make sense. And all
Mm-mm.
the news coming out about it was like, oh, Luca just bought a $15 million house. And, he cried when he found out he was being traded. Like, this is, can
It
you
it
think of
he's he's
anything
he's talked
comparable to
about.
this?
No, I can't. I mean, he's talked about this is the first time in NBA history where what was it? It was a all pro, like switching mid-season or however they said
It's
that.
the highest career average player. So for a player, Luca was averaging 28.6 points per game
Mhm.
this season. He was traded midseason. The first time a player averaging this type of points per game was traded midseason since Kareem was traded to the Lakers from the Milwaukee Bucks in 1975.
Wow.
1975. That
Yeah.
is
It's insane, and you feel bad. I do feel bad for Luka. I mean, he's talked about how he wanted to retire a Maverick. He wanted to retire in Dallas, and, I know that would've been a long ways away, But what hurts him and is $115 million he was stripped of because he can't sign the supermax going to a new team.
Yeah,
That is what's rough, I think. I mean, not only did you get traded, which he never expected, especially going over to the Lakers for pennies on the dollar, as you said, which I agree because I never really cared for Anthony Davis. I thought he was always needing one or two more people to even
yeah,
be successful.
yes,
And just my opinion on that. And yeah, dude, I feel so bad for Luca. And you could see it when he got off that plane. Did you see him getting off the plane into LA at night? He still looked defeated. Like,
yeah.
oh man,
No, he
I feel
did.
so bad for him. Like he's in shock. I think he's still in shock, and it's a few days. It's 3 days later, 4 days later.
I know. And it's one of those things again where I've heard the things we've all heard the scuttlebutt around the internet where it was just like, oh, management didn't like him because he was out of shape, because he was a little overweight, because he was 20 pounds overweight and all that kind of stuff. If he was 20 pounds overweight, still averaging almost 29 points per game, again, he's been out since December. So that's, a number that's lower than it should be because he's been missing games with injury. But also, he gets better in the playoffs. He's averaging almost 31 points per game in the playoffs. So
Mhm.
you have all these other, superstars in the NBA or in any sport where their great regular season shrink in the playoffs. This guy, young, hasn't hit his prime yet, 25 years old, great the regular season, gets better in the playoffs.
Yeah, he's no
Like,
Joel Embiid, you know.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's
Uh,
yeah, but also it's this thing where he was traded to the Lakers and then immediately the conversation became like, how are the Lakers going to compete with both him and LeBron? They're going to have no defense, all that kind of stuff. The most underrated part of LeBron's game is how great of a basketball passer he is.
yeah,
So he is great at getting a guy an open look, doing the great passing behind the back, all that kind of stuff. So that I'm not worried about at all. Also, if you're worried about the Lakers now not having any defense, then they're just going to outscore everybody 127 to 120. Like that's
yeah.
just what those games are going to look like.
So I had a regular, obviously, like I said, everybody was talking about it. She came in and she was talking about, well, now all the positions are messed up. They don't have a true person in every position. I'm like,
It
they
doesn't
don't need
matter.
it. There's no
It
more.
doesn't
There's no
matter.
positions in NBA anymore. There's not.
Yeah.
There isn't.
No, there isn't. They're
So,
going to miss legitimately all they need is a big man, but if your big man is again over 30 years old, has a history of being injured, and you can get Luka for him. There is every other single team in the NBA would have made this trade without question. And
oh
now
yeah,
you're hearing things, where it's like all the teams are pissed off that they didn't know that either Luka was on the trade deadline
yeah.
or that,
It was a one phone call thing,
yeah, I would
and the
be pissed
reason
too.
Right? And the reason, the Lakers only gave up so little was their whole thing was just like, "Oh, it's conditioning, we gotta get his conditioning up, and, we're worried about that, blah, blah, blah." That is some bullshit, and that is some bullshit. I don't know if LA is just everybody there is just super smart or everybody in Dallas is just super dumb.
Well, it also the thing in the shadows that's being talked about is the Mavericks ownership and the people who run the team now that um
Mark
Mark
Cuban?
Cuban is no longer the majority stakeholder in this team, right? There was apparently a power struggle, where Luca is one of those guys obviously in the NBA who like demands things from ownership, but also like what great player there's no argument to be made that he's less than the third best player in the NBA right now.
Oh,
You can
yeah.
make a case he's the second. You can make a case if you want to argue him or Jokic. That's the only
Yeah,
argument,
personally, I
right?
mean, it's personally, right now, it's Jokic for me.
Yeah, I agree. But
But
he's
2
not lower than two
yeah.
in my book. Like he's not.
He's not lower than 3, but I don't know even who I would probably put at 2, but I know he's no lower than 3.
Well, Shea Gildress-Alexander right now is, playing out of his mind. You can also put Giannis in there, but again, Giannis, Jokic, and Luka, we've all seen the same thing from them, which is
Mhm.
leading their team to a championship. Obviously, Luka, the only one out of the 3 that didn't win the championship, but again, that team shouldn't have been there anyway. So he just willed a bad team against an unstoppable force and then got met with the unstoppable force. So,
Gotcha. So let me ask you this: do you think now the Lakers have a legitimate chance with Luka going over there?
yeah, their odds immediately shot up to like believe it was the highest it got to was the 4th best title odds, but I don't think this season they are a legit contender, but again, in the offseason, they didn't lose anything. They lost 1 first round pick. They can't sign Luka to the
And
supermax,
the
which
first
means they're going
round
to have
and the
money.
first round pick isn't it until it's 2029 first round pick. A
Yeah.
twenty twenty nine first round pick.
So they have again, I don't believe they have any draft picks for
And
a
then how
while.
many picks did Fox get traded for? I think it was 3.
Yeah. Well, if you even look in the past, it's like Kevin Durant was I there's always like multiple first round picks. There's always pick swaps. There's always a bunch of like depth pieces and stuff like that, which that's what makes this Luca thing so incredible, where it's just like they got nothing. They didn't even do a pick swap.
It was damn
It
near just
was
a player swap AD for Luka, which is mind blowing.
And again, people keep saying since it happened a couple days ago, like, oh, well, news is going to come out, like why it happened. Where's the news? There's nothing. There's no reason
I
why
just
they
think they
did
fumbled
that.
it.
Yeah, except like the GM, I guess, was just like, oh, yeah, he's a pain in my ass. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, he's the second or first or third best player in the entire sport. Like, why would you not expect him to be a pain in the ass? It's like, I don't, ugh.
Yeah, and wonder and so with him saying that, like, I wonder if trading was just so they didn't have to pay him the supermax.
But again, they're gonna have to pay what is it? They're gonna have to pay Anthony Davis now. They're gonna have to give Kyrie probably the super max or a max contract. It's gonna be one of those things where they're gonna end up spending that money anyways to try to recreate what he did. It's reverse
Well,
Moneyball.
no, well, I
It's
mean, that's
spending
fine. I'm
more.
wondering if, like, they're doing it out of spite because he doesn't get along with them. Guess
Well,
what?
yeah, it looks
Well,
like
here
it.
comes AD. Good luck
Yeah.
with that.
Well,
Good
it's
luck with that,
also
man.
yeah, and obviously Anthony Davis 31, Kyrie Irving 32. They were drafted a year apart from each other. Luka Doncic 25, and already, at one point
Yeah,
you could probably have said,
and how many rest days do you think that Davis is gonna be asking for?
oh, yeah. Well, that's especially if now all of a sudden if we find out that the Mavericks' whole position about this was not wanting to pay him money, and then we find out that money's an issue, and now you have to pay both Kyrie and Anthony Davis, you just think they're just going to, sign for pennies on the dollar? Why would they? You just showed them you're willing to get rid of anybody on this team. Neither of them are safe if Luka's not safe.
Yeah.
And
My buddy who's
ugh,
a lifelong friend of mine, like, all the way through grade school, I just hit him up about it, and I didn't pry or anything. I just said, "How you feeling about this?" And he literally was like, "I don't know how to express in words." And he's like and that was it. I think he says something after that, but I didn't ask anymore. Like, he really doesn't know what to say. He doesn't know
ugh,
what to say. Like, this is insanity, this deal that went down.
yeah. And yeah, everything else again, the DeAndre Fox thing would have been huge, but now it's kind of just like it takes a
But
back seat, rightfully so, to
you
the
and
Luka.
you wanna know what else is taking a back seat? Is the Super Bowl week. Like, so
Yeah.
did you watch what I sent you about the guy who was, imitating, Patrick Mahomes, and he sees the deal, and he's like, "Oh, no, Brittany, this trade happened this week is supposed to be about me. I gotta call Travis." Like, I
Uh,
thought it was hysterical because, like, and it's not just him, but, all these players in the Super Bowl for the first time, like, this is gonna be their week. This is gonna be their spotlight. They're gonna be excited to have the cameras on them constantly. And I know there's a lot of these players have already been to the Super Bowl, but for those who haven't, I mean, hell, Saquon Barkley, they're right there. That's your biggest one. This is his week, and then all of a sudden it's just like boom. Here we go. We got this trade going on.
Yeah,
And you said
it's
and like you said, they're still talking about it today. This is where you should be talking about the Super Bowl right now.
it's well,
And
it's the biggest news story in sports. It
yeah,
really is.
yeah. And it's insane. Well, oh
Uh,
man, I don't have any more to say about that, but it's
yeah,
pretty intense.
last little bit of it is it's also crazy, and I don't feel like people have talked about this. It's crazy that he was traded within the West. Like he was traded
Mhm.
in the West division. They could potentially right now the Mavericks are 8th in the Western Conference standings. Lakers are 5th. If it shakes out a little bit, these two teams are playing each other first or second round, like almost guaranteed.
Well, do
Like
you think the Mavs can make it now?
yeah, I don't think Anthony Davis is a bad player. I just don't think he's worthy to be traded
Well, you're
for
right. What 80% of the teams make the playoffs nowadays, so.
well, yeah, also, yeah, the West, I mean, you get the Mavericks are 8th, they're 1 game ahead. Ooh, actually, I mean, it's going to be dicey. It's going to be dicey. But if they make the playoffs with both
So,
these
I
teams,
wanna go back to something you said. You said, this doesn't make them, NBA title contenders this year. I know that their odds jumped up to 4th best, but let me ask you this, like, so with your opinion being that, do you think LeBron James sticks around another
oh,
year or 2?
100%. 100%. Now he's basically guaranteed not a ring, but to be in contention. Again, the
And
Lakers have
I
been
agree. I think he's gonna stick around now, and especially because he can do that with his son.
yeah. Yeah, and Bronny, is lighting up the G League. So who knows? In a year or two, he might actually be
Mhm.
NBA ready. But
Well, I mean,
uh,
I'll tell you right now, like LeBron can pull some strings and be like, "You are the last man on the bench, Bronny." Like, just pull him up. Be like, okay, they're gonna finish this season, and if they feel like they can win the title next season, he's gonna be like, "Bronny, you get this bench seat. We're making it happen, so I can have a chance to win a title with my son."
yeah. Well, and then and obviously the dark horse in all this, the man in the shadows is the LeBron James piece of it. Now, I believe him when he says he found out about that when he was at dinner with his family. I don't think
Oh,
he had
100.
any
I
insider
don't think
knowledge of this. No.
anybody had any knowledge of anything.
No, because it didn't leak. It was never even a discussion. So and again, basketball people who I trust and I follow say the league themselves, everybody they know was completely blindsided by it. I completely 100% believe that. There's no,
I think it was literally one phone call, just
yeah,
like,
yeah,
wanna
like
make this
one phone call.
let's make this trade. Okay.
Yeah.
Boom, boom,
What will you
done.
give
Click.
for us? Yeah, and it
Yep.
was also that it was probably that negotiation where they were like, "What will you give for us?" And then it was, or "What will you give us for Luka?" And then they were like, "Let's lowball them, so then they'll highball us, so we can meet in the middle." And then they just accepted the lowball offer, and the Lakers were just like, "Oh." And then of course, it had to be the Lakers. Had to be the Lakers. Ugh. But all right,
Yeah, the
just
Lakers have a chance to win next year. The Dodgers are gonna win the next 10 years in a row.
The Rams, I predicted to win the Super Bowl next year,
Yeah.
so who knows?
Oh, LA.
Also USC, not bad, not bad.